Okay, so we're probably all, hopefully, beyond the toilet paper hoarding phase of this strange world event. So let's talk about some practical tips that you can put in place to help support your body and immune system function and sense of well-being in general. Here are some practical things. However, before we do that, we should definitely recognize that it would be very foolish to give medical advice in a broad spectrum type of venue like this, that any kind of health challenge should be addressed on an individual basis. We are not cookie cutters. We are individual bodies that have a variety of needs and variables that play into each condition as well as the trajectory of health outcome. Okay, so here we go. So first of all, if you feel that you need medical attention and or that you have a medical emergency, you should seek medical attention. Okay, so on that note, one of the first things you can stop doing is hoarding processed foods. I mean, the stuff that I have seen in grocery carts this past week of grocery store craziness is just appalling. There is all kinds of shit in processed food. And by the way, have you read all those labels lately? Do you know what you're putting in your body when you consume packaged processed foods? Okay, so don't get your feelings hurt when I'm saying that. I'm bringing that to the general attention because this is one way to empower yourself by making food choices that support your immune system function. Now, there are a number of studies out there in the medical literature on immunonutrition, and I've been recently reading one that says consumption of the standard American diet causes oxidative stress, systemic inflammation, and adverse effects leading to a biochemical milieu that supports the development and perpetuation of infections, particularly viral infections. Now, being a holistic physician, I've read a number of those kinds of things over the years, but I really have been amazed by how quickly decreased immune status can set in after eating a high sugar, high carbohydrate, high processed food type of event. And so to appreciate that, I'm throwing in this picture of my own skin that was about a week ago when I had what I would call a fuck it moment. And a fuck it moment is when you get so stressed out that you just don't care what you eat. You just want to eat whatever the fuck you feel like eating. And I know nobody likes to hear that word, and it's so wrong to use that word, but you know what? That is what a fuck it moment is like. You just don't care about anything that contributes to your sense of well-being in those moments. You just want to have it your way. And so anyhow, I did just that. It was one day last week, and I was amazed that by the next day, my skin which had been clear, was already breaking out. And after this breakout occurred, it took about 4 or 5 days for my skin to return to its clarity. So that's something to think about. If I have one evening of feeling bad about myself or my life or whatever it is that's the stress-producing event, and I decide to self-destruct in 1 hour, I have to actually pay for that for a number of days. And what this really means is that it takes my body more time to heal from that trigger than to have handled it proactively in a constructive, health-promoting way. So there are a lot of old school wisdom sources out there that could teach you about using fresh fruits and vegetables, whether that's preparing them immediately after purchase or preparing them in some way that they can be used in the future, maybe through canning or freezing. Or, imagine that, eating leftovers, finishing up one thing before moving on to the next. I mean, we just really don't do much of that anymore. And maybe it's time to return to those ways of old wisdom. One of my favorite ways to use fresh vegetables, if not cooking them immediately, is to stew them down into a vegetable broth. And I can freeze parts of that and pull it out for future meals. There's a number of things that you can do with fresh broth and enabling you to really take advantage of the nutritional substances in it, whether that's immediately or down the road in the future. And I am not the expert on cooking various types of cuisine, but mostly because I like to keep things really simple. But there are a number of sources out there if you wanted to learn more about food preparation at home from fresh food sources. Now, when it comes to nose and throat wellness and therefore cold prevention, there are a number of things in the picture above that I like to keep on hand as preventive measure, and they can also be helpful in times when you become symptomatic. So I'll discuss each of those independently in the following pictures. Okay, for sore throats, I really like a combination gargle. One glass with sea salt water alternating with another glass of baking soda water, back and forth. This will help to pull the stagnant mucus away from the back of the throat, and also alternating with the baking soda helps to change the pH in the body, in the region quickly. Some bacteria do not respond well to rapid changes in pH. And so this is a really great, easy, inexpensive way to handle sore throat prevention and or therapy. For sore throats, I also really like this product, Quantum Thera Zinc Throat Spray. The zinc is really helps to support the immune system function, and the other ingredients in the spray really help to soothe the burning stinginess of a sore throat. Okay, so nasal irrigation is another important home intervention that can be done through a neti pot or through a regular nasal saline, such as the two pictured here. I am in favor of the little noses remedies because it's a lot milder tasting than that disgusting shit that they produce for adult use. But anyhow, all you need there is normal nasal saline. It doesn't have to have, and nor should it have, any pseudoephedrine in it, just a natural, normal nasal saline. This helps to clear out stuff in the nasal passages, bacteria, stagnant mucus, so on and so forth. And that's really important as a preventive measure for any kind of respiratory ailment. Okay, essential oils can also be really helpful to stimulate the sinuses when they're blocked and or to help open up the airways when the nasal passage is constricted. My favorite essential oil for doing this is peppermint, but also useful are eucalyptus, rosemary, and marjoram. You do have to be careful with when dealing with essential oils. Some of them can be very irritating to the skin or eyes. So if you were in need of more information or instruction on how to do that, you could address that directly to me, and we can review that on a one-by-one basis. Now, essential oils can also be added to a warm mist vaporizer, and that can be very helpful in dry seasons when the body, like winter, thick of winter, when we're using our heaters at home, and maybe the respiratory mucosa has gotten dried out. and it's irritated. And so those warm mist vaporizers can be very helpful and can be used along with essential oils to help open up the airways. Again, that's something that should be addressed on a case-by-case basis, but really it is part of old school wisdom too. Okay guys, so I'm gonna wrap it up here for now. There is just so much to say about holistic approaches to living and sense of well-being and immune support function. And it really is not possible to discuss all of that in a quick 10-minute video. But what I can say is it's worth it to have a sense of empowerment about your life choices. It's worth everything. It's what makes life worth living, to feel the freedom of ease, to be and express who you naturally are. And so with that, I encourage you to learn more about these topics. And yes, we'll talk more in video form about other things related to holistic senses of well-being. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you for being here, and leave you with a picture that I took in France back in October, and this one is from Monet's garden. Really lovely spot to go and visit sometime. All right, adios amigos. We talk to you soon.